I still don't quite know where I want to set up in here. Do I show all my shelves or do I zoom in a little bit? I feel like when I'm reviewing certain books, I'll zoom in a little bit. Anyway, that doesn't matter. This is the mid-year book freakout tag. Is that what it's called? Everybody pretty much does this every year. It's just a way to talk about what you've been reading so far, some of your favorites, some of your least favorites. I was, I believe, somewhat tagged by Jay, but he forgot. All right, so question number 1. Best book I've read so far in 2021. This has to be hands down Royal Assassin by Robin Hobb, book 2 of the Farseer trilogy, which I guess you could also say is the best sequel that I've read so far. But see, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try to not repeat the same book over and over again. So, best book that I've read is gonna be Royal Assassin. I thought that was pretty much a perfect book. I do have a review linked on the channel. The Farseer trilogy was incredible. Royal Assassin had everything going for it, from pacing to expansion of the magic system, of the characters, of the world, introduction of new characters, fantastic friendships, emotional beats, stressful situations, beautiful prose, just everything about Robin Hobb's writing is fantastic. And Royal Assassin, it's hard to come up with anything negative to say about the book. That's probably the best book that I've read currently. What I will say right now, the best sequel that I've read, and I've read a ton of good sequels. I've read some Wheel of Time books, of course. I've read a lot of Dresden books. I mean, it's July now, so I've been reading a ton of stuff. But the one that sticks out to me the most is what I'm actually currently reading, which is Howling Dark, book 2 of the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio. Now, Empire of Silence, I read earlier this year. Review of that is also on my channel, and a live chat that I had with Leanna over at Leanna's library. That'll be linked below too. This book, holy shit, it's fantastic. It's reminding me of Dark Age from Red Rising, which is book 5, in the sense that it really, really gets into the sci-fi of things and gets real weird and confusing, and it's incredible. Just the writing is beautiful. The character moments are great. The story and the pacing is fantastic. This has some of the best mystery and sort of like ancient alien civilization stuff going on. There's so much intriguing content here and so many things that you could just pour over for hours. I'm probably missing a ton of stuff that you would get on rereads and rereads and rereads, because it seems like there's so much here, so much lore, so much thought and care put into the creation of this world and these different races that exist in this series. And just, the Cielcin, the Empire, where they're not necessarily strictly humans, like all these people are built in labs and they live for hundreds of years, and you've got these people that are, they have like machines implanted in them to live longer or give themselves, technological advances. There's so many amazing concepts here, and you can see the influences of other works directly embedded in this writing, and it's just fantastic. And I'm about 70-ish% of the way through Howling Dark right now, and it's incredible. And being told by everybody in my Discord that being told by everybody in my Discord that's read this series that Demon in White book 3 is even better is insane to me, because this book is incredible. And I feel like if I hadn't already read Royal Assassin, and I'm not done with this one yet, I would have this as my number 1 book so far this year, but I am gonna place that as my number 1 sequel that I've read this year. Okay, now a new release that I have not read, but I want to. Let me think about that for a second, because I don't keep up with like books as they come out. Really, I generally just don't really know what's on the docket right now. There's all kinds of things that I'm catching up on, series that I'm catching up on that everybody's already read. Like I'm catching up on Wheel of Time, Realm of the Elderlings, Dresden Files. So I don't even know release dates for a lot of these things. Obviously, like I want to read Winds of Winter. That's not going to be this year. It's not out. I want to read book 6 of Red Rising. That'll probably be maybe next year. I want to read book 4 of Sun Eater. That's not out yet. I want to read book 3 of 5 Warrior Angels. That's not out yet. So something that's out currently that I haven't read that I want to, I'm going to go with The Last Watch, which is a sci-fi space opera that I have sitting up over there, because I'm really digging these space operas. It's becoming one of my favorite sort of sci-fi, I guess I'll call it a subgenre, or just, type of sci-fi book that I really am interested in. And that came out recently this year. I've heard pretty great things about it, so I'm definitely looking forward to that one. Okay, now most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Jesus, man, you're making me look up books. I don't know, man. Does anybody have like a website that does this very well? Does Goodreads do this well? Let's look. I'm going to cheat a little bit here for now, and I'm going to say Wisdom of Crowds by Joe Abercrombie, even though I am not caught up on The Age of Madness, because I know that comes out later this year. And if I was caught up, I would be reading it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm terrible with this. What the hell is coming out the rest of the year? Somebody let me know. I don't know. Okay, biggest disappointment. Now, this is going to pain me to say this, and this is simply because, so there's books that you go into knowing that you're going to hate it, and then when you hate it, it's like, yeah, whatever, I expected to hate it. The book that stands out right now that is the biggest disappointing book to me, and I'll have a review of this later this week, as well as a live show coming up, or a collaboration coming up in a week or two. A Time of Dread by John Gwynne. So this is book one of the Blood and Bone series, the trilogy follow-up that takes place about 120 or so years after the conclusion of The Faithful and the Fallen. I expected to love this and be blown away by it. It was very lackluster to me. I didn't find, aside from Drem and some of Bleda's storyline, the characters were not that interesting, in my opinion. I didn't really care for their POVs. I feel like the stakes aren't as high. This book really, really lacks a compelling villain. And I don't know if that will be fixed in book 2 or not, and maybe book 3. But Faithful and the Fallen, maybe it's because it was more focused on just the warring factions of humanity, essentially. That's all I'll say for spoiler reasons, is just there were so many villains in the first series. There's 5, 6, 7 that come to mind immediately that are just good, well-rounded villains. And A Time of Dread doesn't really have that. I feel like I see where it's going to where, like, who will become a villain, but it really lacks that, like, who are we fighting against? Like, I don't know. It was kind of disappointing to me. I was bored through a little bit of it. I don't know. It was okay. And I really was, like, after loving Faithful and the Fallen, I was really thinking that this would sort of pick up where that left off and be as interesting. It just didn't do it for me. I guess the other most disappointing one that I could throw in here would be All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So the first novella in the Murderbot series. I didn't find Murderbot at all to be funny or relatable as apparently the entire internet does. And this book is drowning in awards and people praise it left and right. The plot was kind of boring to me. Murderbot as a character, I didn't think was interesting at all. I have a review of that on the channel too if you want to watch it. I did not care for that, so I was very disappointed in that simply because it seemed like everybody loved it. And then I read it and I was just like, really? That's it? All right. So moving on to the biggest surprise. So a lot of these sequels and stuff and continuations weren't all surprising to me, but what was Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, because I actually really, really enjoyed this book. No, it's not perfect, but it was so well paced, and while the main character, Jason Destin, isn't very interesting, he's sort of just like a vessel to carry the story. I loved like I said, the pacing. I love the science of this. It was incredibly intelligent and way more science heavy than I expected. I love the entire concept of the multiverse and everything that this book gets into. And as I understand, it's going to be adapted at some point into either a TV show or movie. I don't know which, but that is perfect because the concept and the way that this book flows, it almost feels sort of like an outline to a movie. And I could absolutely see this on a screen. It would be great. So Blake Crouch, Dark Matter was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to reading more of his because that was a pleasant surprise. Favorite new author. So this is going to be sort of a tie between Robin Hobb and Christopher Ruocchio, but I think I'm going to have to give the nod to Ruocchio simply because way back in January of last year, I did actually read Assassin's Apprentice the first time, and I didn't like it. When I came back to it this time, I absolutely love Robin Hobb's writing. I finished the Farseer trilogy, immediately ordered the Live Ship trilogy, which I do have sitting over there somewhere. There it is. And wow, those books are massive. So she's definitely shot up there. But Christopher Ruocchio, when I picked up Empire of Silence, I was expecting it to be good because some friends of mine online and in Discord that have been praising it left and right, and just sort of high praise that I've seen around the internet and YouTube specifically, from Brian Lee Durfee or Mike's book reviews, people talking about Christopher Ruocchio and his books. And I finally picked it up And wow, Empire of Silence blew me away. And Leanna and I talked a lot about that. I know I mentioned this quite a bit because I just talked about Empire of Silence a couple minutes ago, and I'm talking about Howling Dark being my favorite sequel this year, until it's probably topped next month by Demon in White. He just everything about his writing style, his influences just bleed onto the page. You can see the love and the care in crafting the story and the lore and the universe. And it really caught me off guard how good it was. And I'm surprised that more people aren't talking about this. I know this kind of gets thrown around a lot, and I say it about Brian Lee Durfee as well. I think he's criminally underrated in the fantasy genre for his books. The Five Warrior Angels are incredible, and I feel that exact same thing about Christopher Ruocchio. Now, his is a sci-fi fantasy blend. It's getting heavily more into sci-fi as I read on, but these books are awesome, and he's definitely a new favorite author of mine. I think everybody should be reading his books as well if you really have an appreciation for language and prose, if you have an appreciation for space operas and this blend of sci-fi and fantasy where you have not necessarily a chosen one trope, but something similar. I mean, the books are sold to you as if Hadrian, the main character, becoming Darth Vader was the right thing to do. Now that seems like it's kind of amalgamous, and we'll see where it goes, but just everything about this world and universe is super interesting and cool, and more people should read it. Newest fictional crush? I don't think I'm the right audience for this question. I don't know. I don't get crushes on book characters. Fitz, because apparently he's a Chad and everyone in that universe wants him. Newest favorite character has to be Night Eyes from the Farseer trilogy, and I want to see more of him because Night Eyes is fantastic, and this is one of the best examples of how to write an animal companion into a book, which was just awesome. And it wasn't silly or stupid that he's able to communicate with Fitz because it makes sense in the universe of how it's done. And it's not directly how you see it in a lot of other worlds where like Faithful and the Fallen has talking birds and Kraft, while being a hilarious character, it's very much there for like a comedic effect, and he squawks and like talks out loud and speaks in English to everybody. Night Eyes has, a deeper connection. It's just a really, really intriguing and impactful character to the story. So Night Eyes, hands down. All right, a book that made me cry. Well, it's hard to get me to cry, really, like real tears from a book. There's a couple things that got me choked up. Ruin, parts of that book, especially the ending. That's book 3 of The Faithful and the Fallen, very early in this year, definitely got to me. I'm going to have to say, though, Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest had some moments in it, books 2 and 3 of the Farseer trilogy, that really were tearjerkers. And because of the way that those stories are written, and Robin Hobb's wonderful ability to just rip emotion out of you, there's certain scenes in those books where I may not have cried, but I felt it inside of me. I felt the emotion that I was meant to feel. And yeah, those books, man, they got me good. All right, a book that made me happy. I mean, I'm happy when I read anything that I enjoy. What I'm gaining from this question, though, is more of like smiling, or sort of like a funny book, or just something that it was like heartwarming. Something that was funny and made me feel happy was Guards, which I read back in, I think, February, just because of how funny it was. I love Pratchett's writing in his world, and it being the first book of the Watch series, I can't wait to read more. And it's so witty and humorous that you can fly through those books, and I didn't leave it feeling emotionally exhausted like I did after reading something like parts of Royal Assassin, or like last year when I read Dark Age. It's very happy and lighthearted, and that would be my answer. The most beautiful book that I've bought this year. So there's a lot of things that I normally face them out when I enjoy them. Shadow of the Gods is obviously gorgeous. I like The Blackest Heart a lot. I like The Eye of the World. I think I got that last year, though. The Farseer trilogy illustrated editions have to be the best looking fantasy books I think that I've bought, simply because they feel quality and the illustrations are fantastic. But, and obviously, Ruocchio's books are gorgeous as well. But the single best looking book that I bought, let me go get it. It's with the sci-fi books. It's going to be this big chunky boy, and I'm just going to hold this mic now, because why not? Dark Age by Pierce Brown, Subterranean Press edition, because the cover of Darrow is fantastic, and wow, it makes this book feel like the Bible. This thing is ginormous, and there's awesome illustrated. There's awesome illustrations inside as well for this glorious behemoth of a book. You could literally kill somebody with that book. Okay, we're back. Hello. Welcome. Back. All right, what books do I need to finish? What books do I need to read by the end of the year? So, I'm going to continue the Sun Eater series by Christopher Rocchio because I'm doing that as a buddy read with Leanna. So, after we do Howling Dark this month, Demon of White will be next month. Whatever my Howlers pick for me to read in the next couple of months will be things that I have to finish. I am going to complete the Wheel of Time in 2021, so by Christmas time, I'll be done with that. I also need to continue in the Of Blood and Bone series, even though A Time of Dread did disappoint me, because I am doing collaboration videos for that series as well, like I did with The Faithful and the Fallen. So those 3 books will be under my belt by the end of the year. What else? I'm going to absolutely continue the Dresden Files, because that series is awesome, and I want to read more of that. What else do I have to read? I mean, you never have to read stuff, right? I'm going to read Caliban's War and continue The Expanse. I'm not finishing that this year because that's too many goddamn books. I want to continue First Law. I mean, there's all kinds of shit that I want to continue that I'm not going to finish. I didn't even talk about First Law. I really like First Law, but there's so many books that I've read this year that are incredible. The First Law trilogy was excellent. And I guess my third, if I had to pick like a best book or sequel behind Howling Dark and Royal Assassin, it would have been Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie, because that was awesome too. But you know what? I love Dresden too, so I don't know. Let's throw Small Favor in there too. I'm going back to the first question and the second question. Small Favor is awesome too. But yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff that I'm going to finish this year. I'm probably going to start a lot of other things too. I want to start Live Ship and those gigantic, just look at how big these books are. I also need to get back to Revelation Space at some point, but basically what I think Robin Hobb did when crafting Live Ship was she took Assassin's Quest and was like, you know what? Farseer started out with Assassin's Apprentice, so it was about a 400-page book. And by Assassin's Quest, it's almost 900 pages. So you know what? That's my new goal. I'm going to make 3 800 to 900-page books because why not? People like gigantic books, don't they? So there you go. Live Ship. I'm going to start that sometime soon. I don't know. I got a lot of books to read. October, so we're not going to be finishing A Song of Ice and Fire because it's not done. Boom, got him. But Jimmy over at the Fantasy Network and Leanna and I think that's it. Maybe more. I don't know. It's Jimmy's thing. We'll roll with it. I'll link his channel below. He's awesome. Sub to him if you haven't. We're going to start A Song of Ice and Fire reread. So, I do have 3 of those illustrated editions and then 2 dinky little mass markets. So, that'll start in October. I assume that'll be a book a month. So, October, November, December, I'll be through the illustrated ones. And then by February, we'll wrap up the series because, you know, that's all we're ever going to get is 5 books. So, anyway, that's going to do it for this book tag. Just talking about books. This video was a lot longer than I anticipated when I started talking. Maybe that's my fault. Hope you all stayed through the end and enjoyed it. But like and subscribe, as always. Do hit up Patreon if you want to support the channel financially and what I do here. Always optional, but always appreciated. And it helps me feel less bad about buying so many books. Yep. Definitely leave me a comment down below, though, and let me know your thoughts on any of these questions and your own answers if you want to answer them in the comment section. And definitely join me in Discord so we can continue talking about random shit like beans and posting GIFs at each other. And also some books sometimes, because that happens. And inevitably Brandon Sanderson, because every channel in my Discord turns into a fucking Stormlight conversation. Who should I tag? I don't know. Let's tag. Everybody's probably going to do this anyway. But who should I tag? Let's see. Andrew posts like 18 videos a week. He's probably done this right. Yep, he did it a week ago. Let's see. Bookborn, have you done this tag? I don't know. Do you still do tags, Bookborn? You're tagged. Let's see. Chase. I'm tagging you again, buddy, because I want you to make some more videos. So I know you just read like 9 Dresden books last week. let's talk about some books, man. So Chase, you're tagged. Let's see who else wants to do the tag. Jake, have you been tagged yet? Nope. Okay, Jake, sir, you're tagged. Which also, guys, all these people that I'm tagging, you should sub to because they're amazing people and they have great channels. Let's see. Who else deserves a tag? I don't know why I'm singing this song. I don't know. Q and 2G. Wow, I just called you 2G. There you go. Q and TG. You guys are tagged. 2G. And let's see. Did Jimmy do this? Have I talked about Jimmy? Jimmy, did I already tag you? Let's tag you. If I haven't tagged you already. And finally, if y'all want to, because it's fun to get both of your perspectives, the brothers Gwynn, you guys are tagged too. So there it is. Tag done. That's gonna do it for this one.